Now, ever wondered why creating awareness is so important? And oftentimes coaches are always saying this, I'm asking questions to gain more awareness, but who are we gaining awareness for? Is it for the coach or is it for the client? Well, in today's episode, we're going to discover just that. Now, if you're new to our channel, welcome to Coaching Changes Lives. So glad you can join us this week, because this week we're going to demystify the ICF Core Competency on creating awareness. Now, we know that something about what awareness building is so critical in the coaching process, in the discovery process. But what really it is it just about being more aware of things, or what exactly does it entail? Are we trying to create more awareness for ourselves as a coach, or is it more for the client? So if you're new to our channel, do remember to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to stay tuned with all the latest updates to help you improve your conversation as a coach, a speaker, an influencer, a leader. This will truly help you change lives. Now, so let's take a look at what coaching agreement is, and as well as the creating awareness in the whole process. Now, in the whole conversational process, you begin with the coaching agreement and you begin to explore with the client, and thereby creating awareness in the whole process. Even up from the start, many people think that creating awareness is only towards the end of the conversation. No, it's not, right? Creating awareness happens all throughout the whole conversation. And that's why ICF have changed that into evoking awareness, all through the process, right from the moment the conversation begins. And in fact, before the conversation begins, the pre-framing process happens, and that's when we begin to create the engagement with the client. So creating awareness is not just isolated, just competency number 8 by itself. Actually happens all throughout all the competencies as well. There's an evocation of awareness that happens all throughout. So let's take a look at why ICF says creating awareness is about. Let's see this. It says this ability to integrate and accurately evaluate multiple sources of information and to make interpretations that help the client to gain awareness and thereby achieve agreed upon results. So what this really means is this: the awareness that's built is not for the coach. Yes, the coach will gain more awareness about whatever the client is sharing, but it's really for the client to hear and to see and to reflect and to begin to realize what's really happening in their world and help them to find the connections for themselves. So you see, when we ask questions, many times when we ask questions, we come from a place of wanting to find out more, wanting to be more aware, and we get absorbed into the narrative of the client, not realizing that it's not about the narrative of the client. It's really about what the client really wants. So it's really about creating awareness for the client than for the coach. So notice this, it says the ability to integrate and accurately evaluate multiple sources of information. And what are these multiple sources of information? Well, this multiple sources of information actually comes from different sources from the client. So whether the client is saying it verbally, or whether the client is expressing it through their body, their emotions, their energy, and even across multiple sessions. What are these multiple sources of information you're gathering? And also, sometimes you hear the multiple perceptions that clients are having, right? From the perception of the client, from the perception of the situation, or maybe from the one in conflict. So you're hearing all these sources of information and including your own. Now, we cannot eliminate ourselves totally out of the picture. Why is that so? Because as we're listening to someone speak, we always have this thought in mind. We are always having this second voice, third voice that's within us that's actually speaking. Just like as you're watching this video right now, you're having multiple voices that's talking to you, right? You're thinking, what is Jedi saying? What does he mean by all these things? Does he even make sense? So this inner voice, it's also coming to the picture. Now, how do we remove all these voices and help the client to create that awareness that they need? So ICF have defined several behavioral markers that we're going to look at, and we're going to go deeper as to what are the characteristics. If someone is able to get more awareness, what would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that sound like? So let's take a look at this. Now, what we know is this, that there is several points for us to look at. Number one, it goes beyond what is said in assessing clients' concerns, not just getting hooked by the client's description. So what's really happening here is that you're listening beyond just the surface. You're listening beyond just the words of the concern, of the emotions, but you really want to understand what is the emotions, the underlying truth of it, and not getting sucked into the narrative or the content of the client. So too often when clients share their stories, we get drawn into the content and we forget we're there not just for the content, we're there to listen beyond the words. The next one is evoking inquiry for greater understanding, awareness, and clarity. So the awareness you're building is really to evoke this greater sense of inquiry. Next, identifies for the client their underlying concerns, typical and fixed ways of perceiving themselves and the world, differences between the facts, interpretation, and disparities between thoughts, feelings, and action. So what is really important is for the client to realize, hey, is there a difference between what I'm hearing myself say as a fact, or Am I interpreting that? Is that a belief by itself? Is it a fact or belief? So usually I ask clients to try this out. Is that a fact or is that a belief? What is it that you're really saying? Next, it's helping clients to discover themselves the new thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, emotions, moods that strengthen their ability to take action and achieve what is important to them. So there are a few components here. Number one, it's really first to really go beyond what is said. Don't get drawn into the client's narrative. Listen beyond that. Listen to the intention, their concerns. What is the underlying truth that they're trying to express on? What is it they're trying to say? And we're going to go deeper than that. Next is really to hear from all the different sources of information, whatever they're saying from their mouth, and also underlying the context. Because sometimes the clients may change language. They may alternate between themselves in association and alternate themselves out of association. And you begin to listen to all those different contexts when the clients are saying. The next one we're going to be really careful in is noticing that the facts and interpretation must be separated. Because sometimes, for example, the fact is that today is sunny, but interpretation is because it's sunny, therefore I have less energy. Because it's sunny, that's why I have more energy. That's interpretation. Now, whether the sun is sunny has nothing to do with I have more energy or less energy. Right? That is our interpretation, our belief of the world. For example, some of us believe that if it's raining, means that it's a gloomy day. Now, if we believe that, it will truly make our day gloomy. Why? Because we attract that which we believe. We begin to create that which we believe. So what happens in the client's world is this: words creates world. So we want to help the client realize that, hey, whatever you say to yourself, it's going to be really, really critical, because what you say to yourself will really manifest in its way. And that's why the client has a fixed frame of thinking. Have you encountered people before where they have a fixed frame of thinking? They believe that life is like this. They believe that leadership is like this. They believe that this is the way to govern business. That's the way to govern business. They believe in a certain fixed frame. Now, as coaches, as leaders, as speakers, what we want the client to do is to stretch the frame out, to help them realize that that frame may not be the only frame required. There could be other frames as well. There could be other ways of thinking about things. So it's not just that fixed frame for us to consider. There are many other possibilities and options for them to consider in the process as well. So think about this as you begin to explore your journey in understanding what creating awareness is in all this different process. Now, next for us to consider, it's that the coach begins to communicate broader perspectives to the client and inspires commitment to shift their viewpoints and find new possibilities for action. And also helps clients to see the different interrelated factors that affect them and their behaviors, thoughts, emotions, body background, and also expresses insights to the client in ways that are useful and meaningful for the client, and identifies major strengths versus major areas for learning and growth, and what is most important to address during coaching. Ask the client to distinguish between trivial and significant issues, situational versus recurring behaviors, and when detecting a separation between what is being stated and what is being done. So really interesting in this process of creating awareness, there's so many components, right? There are 9 areas for us to consider. What is key here, at the end of the day, it's the client has a certain frame of thinking. Can we stretch that? Can we allow the client to see that, hey, maybe perhaps the way they're thinking right now, it's impeding them. Maybe perhaps how they're thinking is actually preventing them from actually experiencing the fullness of experience that they should be experiencing, right? Because they've limited themselves, that's why they're not experiencing the fullness thereof. So how do we help our clients in this whole process? It's through this process here, helping them to stretch the horizon, helping them to see bigger, new perspectives, helping them to go deeper, and help them to see the patterns in their words, patterns in their thoughts, patterns in what they have happened in their lives, because these patterns are recurring trends. These recurring trends could be limiting them rather than making them limitless. So it's going to be very important in this process for us to unravel this process for the client. Okay, now next I'm going to show you the ICF competency rating list, and that's when we're going to see the delineation within the ACC, PCC, MCC level. Now if you're new to our channel and you're wondering what are all these different layers, well, these are different levels for coaches as we go through our professional coaching credentialing. So if you want to find out more, do remember to hit the subscription button below and open up the description box, and there you can find an email address. You can email us your thoughts, and you want to find out more and inquire more about the ICF programs. We're here to help you as well. Okay, so my team will be able to assist you to understand what are the journey like for ICF coach. Where will you be going from your ACC, PCC, MCC level? Now, next one is for us to consider is this ICF rating list. This rating list is going to be really, really important for you because you're going to help you to identify the difference between the ACC, PCC, MCC level. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, at the at the core level, what we see here is that ICF says this. The ICF competency number 8 says this: the ability to integrate and accurately evaluate multiple sources of information and to make interpretations that help the client to gain awareness and thereby achieve agreed upon results. So going beyond the immediate goal, engaging in exploration for discovery, perspective, learning and growth with the client. Identifying and acknowledging strengths, noticing connections or threats between what is said and what is done. Really interesting across the ACC, PCC, MCC level. So ACC level, we're going to see that it's about awareness generated at the level of what will solve problem or achieve goals, limited generally to awareness of new techniques versus new learnings about self. So that's when coaches would try out different new techniques to really stretch the horizon of the client, but not so much about going deeper in the client to help them discover about themselves. And another one at the PCC level, it's really coach helps clients to create new awareness by engaging in problem solving. The majority of awareness geared towards new techniques, new awareness about who the client is, more limited, and in addition, awareness tends as a result to be more defined in scope. Coach will generally help the client integrate new awareness as it pertains to particular situation versus learning to be more fully broadened for the scope of new awareness. So at this level, at the PCC level, you begin to stretch new horizons, moving away from the techniques versus towards the self, helping the client to create new awareness. And sometimes in this process of PCC, you tend to narrow the scope as well. But at the MCC level, let's take a look. We begin to stretch further. The coach invitation to exploration precedes and is significantly greater than the invitation to the solution. So it's not really about solution focus, much more than person focused, right? And the coach appears as much an explorer as well as client. And coach has not concluded what awareness should be, and a coach is willing not to know. So it's not about, oh, I think this is what awareness should be. Oh, I think that's what awareness should know. It's really about what the client feels it should be. And the use of the client's greatness invited and welcomed. There is no evidence of fixing the problem of the client, and the coach allows the client to make aware and the client's voice more prevalent than the coach's voice. There is a lovely sense of connectedness, observation of the totality of the client, who the client is and what the client wants, and thinking with the client and creating space for the client to share back. And the coach does not force awareness. Now that's going to be so critical. We're not forcing awareness on the client. We're not forcing something on the client. No, we're actually drawing from the client, helping them to see, right? So, and we go at the pace of the client. We're not trying to make something out of nothing. We're trying to create that for the client. Now remember, awareness building, it's not about what I want for the client. It's really about helping the client stretch and just be curious and helping the client explore. To acknowledge and be in an unconditional positive regard for the client. It really help them to stretch further, going beyond their ways of thinking, helping them to see beyond the limits and break through, and helping them to see, hey, perhaps it's not so much about the solution they're looking for. If we can resolve the person on the inside, if we can help the person inside to see bigger, better than ever before, that will allow them to stretch the horizons. Okay, so there you have ICF competency number 8. We've covered the surface of it. I've given an introduction of it. Now, what we do in the next subsequent videos is that we go deeper in each one of these components. And if you'd like to explore more of how to improve your coaching conversations as well, do consider joining one of our classes, like in Mastering Coaching. That's when we bring someone to the ACC, PCC level. In our team leadership performance coaching, that's where we take these competencies and apply them in team leadership, right? And helping teams to grow in a greater performance. And if you're going towards your MCC level, it's a 6-month journey. We're going to help you to empower you, to imbue you with all the knowledge and the skills required for you to get to the next level. All right, so if you're going to get in touch with us, do remember to check out the description box below. We have all the contact details there, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.